Welcome back. You're now watching the political segment on the Weekend Show. Just this week, the police inspector general had announced that 172 kidnap cases were recorded over the last 7 weeks. 107 victims were rescued within the last 7 weeks. Across the country, in the North Central or the Middle Belt, as I like to call it, you've had cases in Benue State of banditry or headsmen, farmer-headed crisis. You've had cases in Plateau State over the last 2 months and in different parts of the country. You've also heard about the children who were kidnapped in Ekiti State and they have been released. Yes, some effort has been put in to release some of the victims, but just yesterday, again, we read about 3 cars that were attacked in Kogi State by suspected kidnappers. Insecurity has been a huge problem in Nigeria since 2008, and different administrations and presidents have tried in different ways to quell the situation. But this still raises concerns. What's the role of the state governments? What are we saying about state policing and community policing, and how can we fix these problems long term? Joining us to have this conversation, we have
High Chief Michael Kayode Ajayi, who is a security and management consultant. Also joining us, we have Honorable Angu Orngu, CMC, public affairs analyst and anti-corruption crusader. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Welcome back to the show, both
Thank
of you.
you.
You're return guests. Let's start on a lighter note. How are we celebrating Nigeria's progress so far?
Fantastic. We've been celebrating, and I have a special bottle of wine that I want to use to celebrate them tomorrow by the grace of God.
You totally should.
Yeah.
Hi, Chief. Let's talk about what's going on in Nigeria. Security, your overview, and you just heard my monologue. What's your overall analysis?
Well, I think that the spate of insecurity and kidnapping is on the higher note. And it makes the security forces to look as if they were doing nothing, or the government is not doing anything. But much as the government is working, the impact has not been seriously felt. And that is my position. And I think that we need to do a lot in this area. And the use of kinetic and not kinetic approach, we have adopted this approach for quite a long time. In 2006, when this kidnapping started ferociously in the Niger Delta.
Yes.
That was where it started, 2006. Obasanjo adopted the kinetic approach. But with the coming in of Yaradua, he adopted the non-kinetic approach. I remember one of the governors of South, that is a Delta State, was one of the full soldiers working for that purpose. And Yaradua was able to solve it. How he solved it, it was a magic. He engaged them. And not only that, we found out that with his approach of non-kinetic approach, brought everybody to the table. All the guys that were hiding in the creeks, the field commanders, who had made a white man a danger species, thank you. He was able to bring them to the villa. For the first time, these guys were coming to Abuja. They were given the opportunity of entering the villa. They felt welcome. And they had an agreement, and everybody put down their weapons, and they were given specified sum of money, and the whole thing died down. I want to remind you that during that time, our oil production, daily oil production, went down to about almost 700 or 800 barrels per day, and that affected the economy. But as soon as Yaradua stepped in with his approach, everything died down. Then the value of Naira even went high that time, and he brought even the price of oil to about 87 Naira. And Nigerians were very comfortable. So his approach worked for Nigeria. That is the non-connected. But in this case now, I don't even know the kind of approach you are going to use for it. Because we have about 261 border posts in the north, according to the former chief of defense staff. I can't remember his name now. He said that we have about 261 border posts, that the borders are very porous. 137 of them are not manned at all. You can just walk in straight. And then 124 manned. So because of the porosity of the border, you can just walk across. So these bandits now infiltrate into Nigeria and then begin to operate. Most of them are ex-convicts from their own prisons, and they come to Nigeria to make a lot of wealth, go back to become a big man in their society. And that psychology makes them, with the possession of huge sum of money, they now look acceptable in their own society. So the porosity of the border is one factor that has aided this kidnapping and banditry. And why it was easier in the South-South using non-kinetic approach, it's difficult to use it with these guys. Don't forget that El Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, at the time recommended that they must be appeased. So they went with billions of naira to distribute. And I said this is going to be a blatant failure. Because bandits who are kidnappers are criminals with no fixed address. So how do you now engage them? If you engage one and they become rich, another set again will come in. So you keep giving, and when it's going to be endless. So that was El Rufai's approach. It does not work, and it will not work. Why non-kinetic approach, negotiation, dialogue, work in the case of South-South? In the case of the northern fringes of Nigeria, it will not work. And unfortunately, because of the rate of unemployment now, which World Bank puts about 46%, it is very, very, very high. Translates to about 103 million Nigerians. So with 103 million Nigerians facing multidimensional poverty, it is difficult to curb kidnapping and banditry. Now, in this, we used to say that the Fulanis are involved, but the non-Fulanis are now getting involved. Some of them are even working in cahoot with the Fulanis because they now see it as the easiest way to get out of the poverty line. And we, the security circle, we are not even adopting the appropriate technology. If the Ukraine and Russian war will show you that drones, you don't put your men at risk pouring them into the forest. I was watching a video clip concerning the attempt to rescue some people in Kogi State, and they were shouting, they are in the front, they are, they are in the back, this and that. And the men, the soldiers were running after them.
Yeah.
The use of drone were able to locate specifically where these kidnappers are. You won't be confused.
Yeah.
But you see, when you also go further, you find out that we are not, where I say that we are not doing, we claim to be spending much more money, but we are not doing much. During the time of Jonathan, you find a Gwandu, who was the NSA, collecting $2 billion to go and solve security problems. And it was used for the election, distribution for praying, and all the rest and so on, showing clearly that we are not serious. If we are serious, a country like Nigeria should be zoned into about 6 geographical zones with a command and control center in all these zones where you can view the forest of Nigeria. So if you establish about 6 zones in Nigeria, you have it in South Africa, Joburg, you have it in London, where you can see the entire city of London, mere sitting in the command and control center in that place. For the maritime sector, for instance, NPA has something similar, but not large. But all these major cities in New York, you see them with command and control center where you can view the entire New York. But we have not done it here. I'm yet to see one.
But Nigerian security services will tell you that they already have that.
I have not seen it. And I've not seen, if it exists at all, I have not seen its effectiveness. Because most of our soldiers are dying. And it doesn't make me happy when I see a fallen soldier who earns about 50,000 naira per month. I'm not happy. I'm also not happy seeing men of Nigerian police force dying with poor salary. These are people that you should be adequately taking. They are the one protecting us. They make us to sleep in the night. So by denying them their own sleep, we should have a way to compensate them monetarily in terms of welfare. But we are not doing much in that area.
Okay, let's bring Ongo in for his opinion, especially in your state. Recently, even a commissioner was kidnapped. And we've seen what's happening across different local governments. So what's your overview on this conversation?
I would like to take it up from where High Chief stopped on the issue of welfareism. The political class in Nigeria really failed Nigerians. And some of the problems we see happening now are a reflection of that failure. Those that have been trusted with the leadership of this country have failed the people. He gave some statistics, the rate of unemployment. about 43,
46,
46
according to World Bank.
according to the World Bank, reports. Very saddening. Because in that bracket you find more of the young people that are ready to work, but there's no work to do. And it is a general saying, the idle mind is what?
Devil's
The
Workshop.
Devil's workshop. So what do you expect? Some of these young men went to school, they are graduates, parents are expecting, a lot of expectations. What happened? No jobs. No enabling environment. Some of them started their businesses. The taxes are so killing, the power situation, and all of these issues. So it boils down to the fact that the political leadership have failed us. And there is no way we will not be talking about security and will not look at how the political leadership have failed. There's no way we will not talk about security and look at the issue of corruption. He mentioned how General Abikon, who now?
Gwandu,
Gwandu,
the former National Security Advisor.
$2 billion, and the money ended up for election, right? And how it was given for I don't know the reasons that the monies were given for, were shared for. And if you go back to the States, the same thing have happened. Some of these people going into crime, some of them will say, because I want to take care of my old mother that is sick. Some of the state governors could not even pay pensioners. Some of the state governors started white elephant projects. My organization, we are handling an issue in a Cross River. That is Obudu International Cargo and Passenger Airport. It's a white elephant project that was used to siphon and take and flex the people of Cross River State. That common patrimony was stolen through that project and several other projects. Same in Benue, same in Osun. There are a few states my group we are investigating. And if you look at the volume of corruption that took place. But if that airport, this example I just gave, worked, what happened? Our young people within that locality would have been what? Given employment. So you see total failure, total collapse, and that affects the economy. So some of our political leaders are the ones that are sabotaging this country. They are the ones that are sabotaging most of these young people that end up going into crime. I'm not saying that, I'm not supporting anybody that if you don't have a job, you should go into crime. But we need to speak the truth to our leaders. That look, the buck stopped with us. The buck stopped with you. Most of them were given opportunities to fix this country, to fix their states. I'm from Benue. And if you're from Benue, you knew what happened before now. When salaries were not paid, pensioners were not paid. And these are old pensioners that some of them have become diabetic, some of them have become hypertensive, and they are living on drugs. They could not get those drugs. All the industries in that state went moribund. No economical activity going on. How will the young man survive? And this is the case across board. So we are calling on the Nigerian leaders, the political leadership of this country particularly, that look, the issues of insecurity are stemming from the issues that we face with corruption over the years. Monies that were meant to create industries, to industrialize this country. If we sit here, we can talk to you tomorrow. How our power system has not been able to work and how much have gone into it. Obasanjo, was it not $16 billion?
Yeah, 16 billion, yeah.
That was said that went into the power sector. We'll come to Yaradua, we'll go to Jonathan, even the past administration, right, of President Muhammadu Buhari. We will see how much went into it and how much came out. So our leaders must go back and begin to have a rethink. That look, this problem we are looking at, it will engulf all of us. You think you've embezzled all the money. Some of them embezzled as if there is no tomorrow. They embezzle for the 5th generation. You think you are safe out there. But this problem will come to haunt each and every one of us if nothing is done to fix it. So, Mr. President, President Tinubu, Ahmed Bola Tinubu is doing so much already. We saw what happened to Mrs. Betty Edu, how she was taken out, because that ministry was a ministry that was meant for welfareism of the people, monies that were meant to go to the poorest of the poorest in the society. We discovered ended up in the pockets of a few, and the same thing happened with our predecessor. Right. And we saw that, okay, the director was moved, and that was when the can of worms were opened on every other person. That was the right step in the right direction, suspending her. And I mentioned the Obudu Cargo Airport. And we are hearing that the former governor of that state is being mooted to be the next minister. But this was a governor that had a lot of failed projects, elephant projects. He will go and commission. Go back there. None of them are working. But those are the same people that want to get leadership by all means. Leadership should be about the people. If you want to lead the people, it should be that you want to bring a development to those people. It means that you want to better their lives, not for you to embezzle and flex their common patrimony. So, security is tied to these issues. Our young people, if they have jobs, they will not be thinking of going to be kidnappers or aiding and abetting kidnapping. If our hospitals are good, if our roads are good. So for me, these are the issues. Our government should have everything. The welfare of the Nigerian people should be taken very, very serious. And by the time that is done, most of our issues around the security challenges will be reduced. That is my first take.
Hi, Chief. You said a lot at the beginning of this segment, but the security agencies, the defense ministry would actually counter what you said, because they have also come out to say, even in the news when we watch it, that they've been tackling this insecurity. They've been making arrests. In fact, recently they've been making a lot of arrests and cracking down these kidnappers. What are your thoughts on this arrest nationwide?
Okay. Before saying that, I want to correct an error I made in my opening remark. The NSA under Jonathan was Dasuki, not Gwandu, please.
Dasuki, yes.
Please, I want that to be noted. Now, we are not saying they are not working, but I'm saying that all the strategies, I've given you a comparative example of two regimes. One under Yar'Adua, his approach, one under Obasanjo, his own approach. Currently, we are adopting the two approaches. El Rufai had adopted one, which is giving monetary incentives to discourage these kidnappers from working. It is not working. Now, the Nigerian military is doing a lot. No doubt about that. But I'm saying that there is need to introduce modern technology. Is it Patami, the former Minister of Communication, said, look, we are going to introduce NIN. It's going to be linked to your bank account. And then when it's going to be linked with your phone, with that they can track you. But he himself had to pay ransom.
Recently, yeah.
Of recent. So we are not using the NIN with the tracking system. We are not tracking anything. Once you are kidnapped, you are in the hand of God. That is it. Because your survival is 50-50. And these are guys who are already frustrated in the bush because of the nature of the economy. And because we don't have stiffer penalty to discourage the kidnapping project in Nigeria. And recently somebody, either in the National Assembly, was proposing death penalty. I think that's the best approach. Because when you are in the hands of the kidnappers, you are just in the hand of God. Or you're on your own. You are not. The likelihood that you are going to survive is I would say zero. Now you now have another lexicon coming into Nigerian security system, crowdfunding. It was not there 10 years ago, but now you are now hearing crowdfunding, because a group will be kidnapped, and then people will now start contributing money, even contributing food to go and give the kidnappers. In Nigeria, you now find a situation, particularly in the Gwari axis, Kaduna, Kebbi, Zamfara, and so on. You find out that they have captured a lot of villages and then compelling them to pay taxes. Before you can go to your farm, you have to pay them. Then your harvest is part of the payment. So a lot of people don't even go to farms. In Katsina State, one of the dreaded ringleaders or leader of kidnapping business in Zamfara axis was given chieftaincy title in Katsina. And I don't know whether the AIG, no, you even have police security there, and this was a man that was declared wanted. So how do you reconcile that? I'm not saying the military is not working. In your opening remark, you mentioned about community policing. Ask them, ask the IG sincerely if he was really implementing community policing. Go and read community policing, and you see the different concepts under it. We are not doing it. And now, through the back door, some states are already establishing state police. I will still mention the esteemed, my highly respected Governor El-Rufai. He, along with some members of his committee, considered by the government, was asked to look into the necessity or need for community state police. They sat and gave heavy recommendation. He's a man of high cerebral quality, which is not in doubt. They wrote a big book, sending it to the government, but today we have not heard about it. And nobody knows your terrain better than yourself. You take an Igbo man to Katsina. Even if they are going to kidnap him in the beer parlor, he does not know because they are going to speak Hausa language. Vice versa. You go to Igbo land and the Hausa man is serving there. He does not know even if they are planning to kidnap him where he's sitting. So we are recommending strongly that if you want to do community policing, send from the rank of a corporal to inspector, to their region, to their states, where they can communicate. So if you can gather intelligence through that approach. But we are not doing that. Leave the ASP, you can post the ASPs, the officers, to any part of Nigeria because of their knowledge. But when it comes to local people, you need to send the local, the indigene of that place to that area. That is how you can get intelligence. Now it's at appears we are not even using the intelligence for anything. So community policing is zero for me. There's nothing, from the concept of community policing, if you read about it, we are not doing it. So we are recommending to the government today or to the IG, deploy those who can speak the local language to their area of origin. That will help you to gather intelligence and help you to curb kidnapping. Except you do that, I don't see way forward. Two, sorry. Yes. Another point is this. The president once gave a directive that police should not accompany VIPs again. Because you have about 400,000 policemen, and 1/3 of them prefer to go to work with the VIPs. One, because it provides them welfare, it provides them money, which they will not get while working in the police force, with a poor salary. They prefer working with musicians and so on and so forth, celebrities. But abroad, it's not like that. You employ your own private security. But in Nigeria, it's the Nigerian police. When we say that the number of policemen is not enough, and you are still deploying them. So 1/3 of the police force is providing security for the high and mighty. And what you don't also know is that if they budget about 15 billion naira for police, I don't think the IG will get up to 7 billion. So most of their projects, their barracks are abandoned. No contractor would like to get a police contract to do because you are not sure of payment. Now, the members of National Assembly, who is to help the IG, have police escort. So the IG should withdraw those police escort and expose them. Like myself, I don't have police escort. They too should not have police escort. Then they will now take security and protection of the police as a serious business and provide them with money, because police is a serious business. Policing is a serious business requiring heavy capital. And I said we do that and take it seriously. We are not, all this creating special force is just, I don't know, do I say paper tiger or just trying to show that something is working? The welfare of the security men, very crucial if we want to curb security. And I want to advise the president to take it seriously. A committee should be considered to look seriously and critically the salaries of policemen, the salaries of other ranks in the army. 50,000 takes them nowhere. Let's be realistic. Take your car to a petrol station and try to fill it. 50,000 does not fill some SUVs. And that is what you pay a policeman, is a military man, per month, with a family, with children going to school. And you said just now that most of the hospitals are not there to take care of the cost of drugs because of the cost of high increase of petrol has become something unreachable for them.
You spoke about the complicity of the political elite.
Yes.
In sociology, they talk about sentencing patterns. And so when people are sentencing, because they're for several reasons, 2 out of them are rehabilitation and deterrence.
Yes.
And so this conversation now is about deterrence. I remember the last administration had come out and the National Assembly to say they have a list of top politicians and high people in the country who are sponsoring terrorism. That list was never released. Yeah. We've heard about kidnappers and criminals being arrested, but how many times do we hear of convictions? Nigeria, we fear deterrence. If you know that you don't pay your bill, NEPA will come and cut your light. You will find a way. We are now all using meters.
Yeah.
If you know that you don't go to the airport on time, you will miss your flight. People start. So we're actually very teachable. There's a lack of deterrence.
Yeah.
If we've been told that some of the proceeds of kidnapping is going into terrorism financing, you have stated, High Chief, that they have the intelligence, but are they using it? No. So, Ongo, let's talk about deterrence. Do you feel we are putting in place any deterrence to make people know that there's severe punishment for this? And I say this because a pastor was just sentenced to prison for life for raping a young girl. So now anybody who wants to do that will think twice. Why aren't we seeing this with kidnapping and insecurity cases? Why are we not seeing the high-level people, besides Evans, the kidnapper? Why are we not seeing deterrence that way? And what can be done to enforce this deterrence?
Thank you very much. The last administration left so much to be desired on the issue of deterrent. We saw a lot of rehabilitation programs, the name of amnesty and all of that. But those within the security circle will tell you that, look, some of these people, some of these persons, some of these criminals now that were said to have been rehabilitated committed crimes around terrorism and kidnapping and came back to them again several times. And most of those approaches failed. And like you said, deterrent is a key. Was it not President George Bush that said, if you offend America, he doesn't know, I don't know whether it's George Bush or the Russian man, that he will be the one to arrange your meeting with God so that you answer for your crimes. Right? But we don't see that happening. Apart from the Evans you mentioned, we have not seen anybody being convicted over kidnapping, over banditry. Former President Jonathan also mentioned that, look, people in his own government are members of Boko Haram. He said it. But there was no willpower for him to mention anyone. Like you mentioned, it was said that there are a list of people that are financing terrorism and banditry and all of that. Till today, we have not seen any list. But if you recall very well, same period in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, some Nigerians were convicted of funding and financing terrorism. So here again, we are calling on the political class. There should be the willpower, the political willpower, to deal with those that are sabotaging our country. We shouldn't say because this person is from this region, because this person is from that region, because this person is from this religion, we will treat the person with kid gloves. Igboho, Sunday, started in Ibadan. I remember how he was crushed. I think he ran to Ivory Coast or which of the countries?
Republic of Benin.
Benin. There he was arrested. That is how you deal with criminals. But we are calling on traditional rulers. You mentioned community policing, High Chief. Some of our traditional rulers are the ones harboring some of those criminals. They are the ones that even come out to speak for them, particularly in northern Nigeria. We need to begin to tell ourselves the truth. That some of our traditional rulers are a part of this problem. Namu, namu, namu. And the whole thing dies down. And I was discussing with a friend recently. I mentioned the issue of, osmosis. A gaseous element moving from an area of higher concentration,
medium,
passing through a medium into, So when the other people in the other part of the country are saying, okay, those in one part of the country are perpetrating crime or committing crime and they are not being deterred or punished, they will also go back to crime. He mentioned the amnesty program of, may God bless his soul, late President Yaradua. Very successful program. What did he do? He sent some of those boys abroad to go and school, to go and study. And up to date, we don't see that happening in South Nigeria, Niger Delta Nigeria. How was he able to succeed? Why can't we adopt the same approach? I know that what is happening in northern Nigeria particularly has a lot of religious indoctrination and coloration. But it can be done. Just like you mentioned, deterrent. We have used the carrot approach. Let's also use the stick. If there is any senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that is involved in financing of terrorism, he should be exposed. It will serve as a deterrent to others. If there are some persons within the military circle that have been investigated and seen that some of them are involved in issues of terrorism, they should be exposed and prosecuted and sent to jail.
I agree with you totally. Because of time, unfortunately, we would have to put a pin on it. Yeah. Hi, Chief Michael Ajayi, thank you so much. Ongu, thank you so much for your opinion.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, hi, Chief, before we go, I would just like your final words. Because, like Honorable, you said earlier, this insecurity issue affects the welfare. The state of the economy is down. Basically. There isn't money. The dollar keeps rising. Hopefully it won't get to 2,000 naira. And because of this, food has become so expensive. And I was reading a document during the week, and I saw that based on insecurity, a lot of farmers can't farm. And as such, we can't get food. Yeah. And news, on social media is that we may start importing food. Which would destroy the economy and increase the dollars. So what are your final words on this particular matter?
Well, you see, when I listened to the news that about 102,000 metric tons of grains are to be released, I was saying, because I know that it's not going to solve the problem. We have to go to the root. If you are solving the problem, go to the taproot. The hotter the economy, the higher the level of crime in any given society. We must find a way of solving the problem. For me, I know the solution to the issue of dollar and naira is demand and supply. And we have not touched the root. Once you touch the root, the problem is solved. If you don't have an free access to what will enable your demand, then you are solving the problem. But you have easy access to government money, and then you use it to go and buy dollars easily. then you have excess demand over supply. That area has to be looked. All these, when you read on social media, they tell you, oh, Steer company has left, Exile battery in Ibadan, this and that and that. That is a pedestrian argument for me. The real, what we steal out of this country is so humongous that has distorted all the plans the economies have for the growth of this country. And except you go back to that route, tap route, and uproot corruption seriously, without looking at anybody's face, then you are solving the problem. Not when somebody steals 20 billion, then you ask him to pay 20 naira as fine. You are not solving the problem. So we need to go through it. As I was coming, somebody called me from my village. He says, sir, the level of poverty is so bad here that to the extent that if a visitor is coming to greet you in your house, which you normally invite to come and eat the dinner or lunch with you, you quickly hide it under the table, under the bed. That is giving you just how terrible things are in the country. You can no longer share food with your neighbor. So to improve the situation, we must go to the taproot of this problem, examine it critically, and so whether you appoint 10,000 committee, you're only writing and writing what others have written before. In fact, some of these, when I go to some lectures and so on to look at, the moment they start talking, you are telling me what I already have known, that government have not, is already in the archive of government. It's for somebody to have the willpower to withdraw it and begin to implement it. That's right. So, 102, well, it's an effort by the president to show that, yes, I am identifying with the people, the poor people of this country. And when they tell you that inflation rate by MBS is 28%, is a lie. My own inflation rate is about 45%, not 28. Ghana is about 50. It has dropped to about 40-something now. But Nigeria, realistically, if I'm a planner, I'll be planning to drop inflation lower than what they are currently saying. It's not 28. Go to the market, go to this mall, and buy something this week. In a month's time, come and look at it. The rate of increase is so high. So it is not 28%. And our policymakers need to take this realistically in planning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think that's a good place to leave it. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, more on The Weekend Show. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.